SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
At Community Bank, we're here for every part of your financial journey. From personal banking to growing your business or buying a home, our expert guidance makes it simple. We're more than a bank. We're your partner for life's biggest moments. Community Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man, way past 21.
Good morning. Welcome in to Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi. Thanks for joining us today. May 7th, 2026. Thursday morning. Glad to be with you all across the state of Mississippi. For some, waking up this morning, daylight is so incredibly welcome. A new day is welcome to all of us, but there were some last night in parts of southern and southwest Mississippi that wondered if there would be a tomorrow. And our thoughts and our prayers go to all of those affected by the tornadoes that made their way through the state of Mississippi last night. Everywhere you looked online, it was being called by storm chasers, and I don't know if this is a new term or not. I feel like the old, you used to see tornado warning, and you would see tornado watches. Tornado emergency seemed to be the phrase that was being used over and over last night. A tornado emergency struck areas of Mississippi. Multiple tornadoes reported throughout the central and western parts of the states. A post about 8 o'clock last night from Governor Tate Reeves. Multiple tornadoes have been reported throughout central and west Mississippi. Please continue to monitor emergency alerts throughout the night. The state of Mississippi is in contact with local emergency managers and first responders. MEMA is currently coordinating state search and rescue response. If you need assistance, please call 911. Pray for Mississippi. This is not an exhaustive list by any stretch of the imagination, but here's some of what happened last night. Damage reported in several counties, including Franklin and Lincoln. MEMA is coordinating the response in Lamar County. The Emergency Operations Center was damaged by the storm, or storms. That's according to the Sheriff's Office. Initial reports indicating damage as well in the industrial park area where trees were down and roof damage was reported. In Leake County, the Carthage Police Department shared photos of flooding and fallen trees around town. Franklin and Lincoln counties, according to MEMA, last night, 815 homes impacted. That's a number that certainly could change. Emergency management officials in Wilkinson County reported dozens of trees down, multiple people trapped after a tornado pushed through their area. There was a home in Tylertown. I don't know if you saw this video online last night that was struck by lightning during the storms and was burning like a 4-alarm blaze. I mean, just absolutely engulfed in flames. There were rumors of, but I do not know that we have seen yet at this point any confirmation of fatalities that were involved. It's kind of something I saw early and maybe would push back on that a little bit. We will certainly wait for that information. Some of the updates that came throughout the night. Scott Simmons with MEMA, who we hope to catch up with a little bit later this morning, but he is drinking from a fire hose right now. said that they got reports of damage in 6 counties: Lincoln, Franklin, Adams, Pike, Walthall, and Lamar. So those were the 6 counties where the primary damage happened. Just wanted to start with that and get you up to speed with what we know as of 10 after 6 on this Thursday morning. A tough night for many in the state of Mississippi. This is Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. We appreciate you being with us. Our show is presented every day by Community Bank, online at communitybank.net. Community Bank, rooted in our community. Love to hear from you on the C Spire text line at 601-879-4395, 601-879-4395. Cody and Petal, good morning, Richard. Is it just me or the Hattiesburg and Laurel stations down? I don't know that, but it would not surprise me because of the significant weather issues from last night. Yeah. A lot of folks having some issues. I'll just give you this reminder. If you ever have an issue listening on your radio station, you can always switch to the app, especially in significant weather times. Our radio stations have to have power to operate. We've got backup power in most places. We've got backup power at our transmitter sites. But when straight line winds or tornadoes come through, there is stuff that is just absolutely beyond our control, and we will, I promise you, we'll be back up as quickly as we can be. But with the app, you have the ability to choose from any of the 12 SuperTalk stations across the state of Mississippi, and almost always it's a deal where you got pockets of problems, but you can find a signal and find your shows that way. App's free. It's available to you in the App Store and from Google Play. Weather appears as if it's going to be better today across the state of Mississippi. I suppose I should stop and say good morning, Lance Tolbert. How are you, my friend?
Good morning, Richard. Yeah, rough night last night.
Rough night. We had pretty rainy and thunderstormy afternoon, and then it kind of got out, and then there was a little bit that was going on kind of last night in the overnight hours. But nothing like what happened in the western and central, south central parts of the state.
Yeah, well, and it doesn't look, I mean, we got a couple days where there's some relief, but as of the 9th, getting into the early morning hours of May the 9th, nice storm with a lot of red and yellow coming through central Mississippi, much the same area that we've seen this storm come through. So hopefully we will have good news.
You're saying 48 hours from now?
About 48 hours, yeah.
All right. Well, we are glad to be with you. Hernando, you're going to be in the temperature's going to be much cooler today across the state. Right around 70 degrees for your high today in Hernando, with an overnight low tonight around 50, partly to mostly sunny after some clouds early to start the day. It's going to be sunny in the afternoon. Basically no chance of precipitation. Grenada, just about the same for you. 71 degrees for your high, 51 the overnight low, with a low chance of showers. Winds will be light and breezy out of the north at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Touch warmer in Vicksburg, 73 degrees overnight tonight, mid-50s. Cloudy early, becoming partly sunny later on with a low chance of showers. You've got that north wind as well in Vicksburg. And in Ocean Springs, right at 80 degrees today for your high with a low around 67 tonight. Scattered thunderstorms possible in Ocean Springs, especially this morning. Otherwise going to be mostly cloudy throughout the day. 50% chance of rain. Warmer and more humid near the coast than anywhere else in the state. Overall, a cool front has brought lower temperatures, especially in the northern half of the state of Mississippi. You can expect drier conditions inland versus higher rain and storm chances on the coast. It is going to be a little cooler all across the state today. Glad to be with you. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, presented by Community Bank. David Hume was born on this day in 1711, the Scottish Enlightenment philosopher, historian, and economist known for empiricism and skepticism. He is the author of a treatise of human nature. Is that right? Treatise?
Yeah, it sounds
I
right.
think that's right, yeah. Johann Brahms, born on this day in 1833, the German composer and pianist of the Romantic era, known for a German requiem, symphonies, and Hungarian dances. Lance's favorite, Fyodor Ilyich Tchaikovsky, born on this day in 1840.
Oh, I actually do enjoy him very much.
Swan Lake, The Nutcracker, the 1812 Overture. Yes, indeed. Gary Cooper, born on this day in 1901. Two-time Academy Award winner, starring in classics like High Noon and Sergeant York. I'll tell you more about this day, May the 7th, 2026. We've got news, headlines, your morning sports update, and a whole lot more all on the way. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank, online at communitybank.net. Community Bank, rooted in our community.
Thanks only of you, just you. Oh, yeah. So get all those blues, must be a thousand years, and each is differently used, you just know.
Good morning from the Venable.
And now, Mornings with Richard Cross.
What's up?
Let's get the show going.
Super Talk, Mississippi.
Good to be with you. It is Thursday morning. Thanks for joining us. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. Alongside Lance Stolbert, I'm Richard. C-Spire text line is open. 601-879-4395. Right now at C-Spire, new and current customers can get a free phone, watch, and tablet plus 100 gigs of data for just $90. There's more to see. Visit cspire.com today. Don't forget, the 91st annual meeting of the Delta Council will take place tomorrow. Tomorrow at the lawn at the MSU Delta Research and Extension Center in Stoneville. This event marks a significant change for the 90-year tradition at Delta State, with the meeting being held about a month earlier than normal. Keynote speaker for the event will be Representative Glenn G.T. Thompson, Jr., who is on the House Committee on Agriculture. Salute to honor graduates begins at 9 a.m., with the business session beginning at 10:30. Go to deltacouncil.org for more information. That's deltacouncil.org. Edwin Land was born on this day in 1909. He's an inventor and a scientist who co-founded Polaroid Corporation and developed instant photography. I'm sure, Lance, it's one of those things where one thing leads to the next, and then you wonder if, hey, could this happen? But I wonder what it was that pushed him over the edge and said, I think we can press a button on this contraption and it'll spit a picture out. We'll just have to wait a minute and kind of flap it in the air.
Pretty, unique invention. I mean, given that it took forever and a day to take a picture, by the time you actually took it, people were, like, man, I got to get out of here. They're sweating and, can't hold the smile. And so, yeah, I mean, you can only imagine how much that attributed to a whole new market of sales. Like, all of a sudden, people are like, oh, we can take a family picture in front of a Christmas tree? Oh, that sounds great, man.
Yeah.
You can hand the photo to old Uncle Joe over here and let him take it home with him. Good deal.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty cool, though. I mean, you think about it.
Eva Perón was born on this day in 1919, the Argentine actress, politician, and first lady who was influential in women's suffrage and labor rights and was the subject of the musical Evita. With Madonna singing the big song, right? Don't Cry for Me, Argentina.
Yeah, I never saw that movie. I know it's a big one. Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
All about Evita. I just never really.
Yeah. Johnny Yu was born on this day in 1933. Unitas, the American Pro Football Hall of Fame quarterback for the Baltimore Colts, legendary NFL player, multiple MVP awards, and those black high-top cleats. Breckin Meyer, known for films like Clueless, Road Trip, and Garfield, was born in 1974. And Mr. Beast, officially Jimmy Donaldson, the American YouTuber and philanthropist famous for large-scale challenges, giveaways, and record-breaking videos. He was born in 1998. A lot of people that don't like Mr. Beast, and then a lot of people that can't get enough of him. I don't know if it's jealousy or if he's a bad person or...
I think it's a little of everything.
Well, maybe so. Maybe so.
Well, like you said, a lot of people like him too, though. So, I mean,
yeah.
both sides
Millions
of the
and
coin.
millions and millions, if not hundreds of millions. On this day in 558, long time ago, the dome of the Hagia Sophia in Constantinople collapsed. The emperor at the time, Justinian I, ordered it to be rebuilt immediately. In 1429, Joan of Arc and French forces broke the English siege of Orleans, a major turning point in the 100 Years' War.
No, she was executed, burned at the stake at 19.
19 years old.
Yeah, her last words was, she actually had a phrase she stated before and said, "Hold the cross so high that I may see it through the flames." She had requested a crucifix to be held up while she was being burned at the stake. The other thing that she hollered right at the end was Jesus. She refused to recant her stories of being, contacted by the St. Michael and surrounded by angels in the garden. And, she was a teenager leading French forces. Should say a lot about her. But
I think there were a few leadership abilities there.
yeah, whew, and then they burned her at the stake.
City of New Orleans was founded by French colonists led by Jean-Baptiste Le Moyne de Bienville in 1718. And in his name, you got like 12 streets that were named out of New Orleans.
Yeah, and thank goodness for him because we have chicory coffee and beignets.
Yes. I could go for a beignet right now. A good, warm, heavy on the powdered sugar beignet.
Oh, definitely. Double down on the powdered sugar because you got to dip that in your coffee.
Oh, wait. No.
Yeah. And shake it off a little bit and into your coffee, that chicory coffee. And, after you get about 3 or 4 helpings of some good old crispy beignets, dip a couple in there. Tell them to bring you out some rocks.
No, thank you. But you consume them your way, and I'll consume them my way.
I'll eat them any which way.
Yeah, that's about right. Ludwig van Beethoven, Symphony Number 9 was released on this day in 1824, made its premiere in Vienna. Final complete symphony and one of the most celebrated works in the history of classical music. The American Medical Association, the AMA, was founded in Philadelphia on this day, May 7th, 1847. Major shift in public opinion about World War I and Germany. On May 7th, 1915, a German U-boat torpedoed the British ocean liner RMS Lusitania off the coast of Ireland. It sunk in about 20 minutes. Nearly 1,200 people died, including 128 Americans. And the U.S. public opinion said, okay, that's enough.
Similar, it was the event that really brought America into the war.
There's a tipping point in both, right? The Lusitania for World War I and Pearl Harbor for World War II. 1945. Nazi Germany surrenders unconditionally to the Allies. Signed the documents in France on behalf of the German High Command, effectively ending the war. VE Day is celebrated tomorrow. And finally, the Sony Corporation was founded on this day in 1946 in Tokyo. I don't know if it was the marketing department or just somebody with less ego or what, but they landed on Sony because the original name was Tokyo Sushin Kogyo.
Sony, much better, yeah.
Sony works better on televisions.
Yeah, man, they owned the 80s, too.
Ooh.
Goodness gracious.
And into the 90s.
I mean, they were still great beyond. I'm just saying the technology blow-up happened because of Sony and other Japanese companies.
Well, and you remember they kind of had the first flat-screen TVs, not necessarily plasmas and LEDs and LCDs and all that, but like the big box with the flat screen.
Oh, yeah, I had the first one they made, I think. I was a big Sony fan.
Those things weighed 1,000,000 pounds.
I remember having to lug one down to Water Valley because there was a guy there that actually fixed TVs like that. And getting it into the truck and out of the truck to his shop was, I almost gave up. I almost gave it to him. Here, you can have this thing. He goes, no, man, I got this. Give me $100 and I can fix it. Like,
yes, sir. Here you go.
Yeah, here you go. But you got to remember Atari, Nintendo, all the different things that came from Japan out of the gate really kind of spurred the technology revolution.
Yeah.
That has not stopped.
I think there's a great irony in the fact that the Nobel Peace Prize is named for Alfred Nobel, the man who patented dynamite in 1867.
Yeah, that's a good one. He had a little worried about the legacy there. So, didn't he fund it with all the money he made from dynamite?
I don't know.
Can't remember exactly the whole story, but I think the heartstrings got to him a little bit.
Somebody says, how much did they make on the Walkman? I don't know, but the Sony Walkman was, I mean, there were iterations of it too, right? It was a tape player, and then there was the record, the radio version of it.
You had the disc, then a mini disc.
Well, that was when the Walkman became the Discman, right?
I think so, yeah.
And then you had the ability with the Discman eventually to buy that adapter cord that took the output, the little stereo output that you would plug headphones into and had a funky looking tape, cassette tape on the other end of it that you inserted into the tape deck in your car so that you could play CDs through the tape player.
My favorite, though, was the era of the boom box, to be honest with you. Love the boom box on the shoulder.
Put it on the shoulder, and yeah. It's kind of made a bit of a comeback.
It has, but it's
kind of as the turtle box?
It's kind of pretenders. They don't have to use that. That's just cool now.
I don't know, man. Those turtle boxes are awesome. And then there was the Walkman Sport, too, the yellow one that you could kind of strap onto your arm.
Yeah, and you could sweat through it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, news headlines and a sports update from Pearl River Resort coming up next.
I was raised by toothless bedded.
From thesebrook.com. The coffee is hot, but the truth is even hotter.
It's hot news.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Yeah, it's hot news.
On SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Appreciate you being with us. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi. Glad to have you along for the ride. You can join the conversation on the C Spire text line at 601-879-4395. Several news items to get to. Speaker of the House Jason White made an announcement yesterday that select committees are on the way. It is a process that he has previously employed that he believes gets the legislature more ready and more prepared for that relatively short legislative session. I mean, it's 3 months, and you don't waste a lot of time by doing this. Announced 6 new select committees with the goal of touching on complex issues that affect Mississippians. The committees will focus on government efficiency, property taxes, redistricting, judicial operations, consolidation, and specialty schools. Committee members will be tasked with engaging stakeholders, examining policy from every angle, and building solutions on each topic. The Speaker of the House said this: Following the success of previous select committees, which produced substantial legislation and meaningful reforms, the House is once again taking a proactive approach to governing. By beginning this work now, we will enter the next legislative session with clear priorities, well-developed policy solutions, and a focus on advancing common sense conservative leadership for Mississippi. There were 4 of those committees from a year ago. One focused on assessing school choice, one on PERS, one for voters' rights, and one on revitalizing the state capital of Jackson. And I think that was a carryover from a previous select committee with the Jackson Revitalization Project. It's a good idea. Makes sense. Not altogether different from committees once you get into session, but a little bit different, and you're able to cast a little wider net and hear some voices from all over the state. We've talked a lot about what the governor's race is going to look like in 2027. The state auditor's race, at least the primary, is shaping up to be a doozy as well. 2 more candidates have expressed their interest in that position, state auditor. So a couple of weeks ago, former state representative Nick Bain announced his candidacy in his hometown of Corinth. Since then, state Republican Senator Daniel Sparks and Adams County Supervisor Kevin Wilson have also said that they will run as Republicans. Sparks told crowds that in DeSoto and Rankin County recently, though he has not had an official campaign launch event. Wilson announced at a political gathering in Madison County on Wednesday. All 3 are looking to replace Shad White, who has confirmed that he will not once again be running for state auditor, but has yet to publicly say what exactly he will be running for. So stay tuned for that.
Shaping up to be a doozy right there.
Yeah. Yeah, Nick Payne, who has been out of state government for the last handful of years, and Daniel Sparks. I will say, I think that's a loss for the Mississippi Senate.
I agree. Yeah. Well, unless
I think Daniel is thoughtful. I think he is very smart, and I think he is very invested in the issues and the committees that he's on. And those will be significant shoes to fill in North Mississippi for someone. So, been in the state Senate since 2020. And, of course, Wilson recently ran for House of Representatives, narrowly lost to Ron Eller in the GOP primary. You remember Hal's St. Patty's Day Parade and Festival from a few weeks ago? We talked about the fact that St. Patrick's Day Parade, a couple of weeks after St. Patrick's Day, and, kind of chuckled about that a little bit, but just a big old celebration in Jackson. Well, it's not just fun and partying. The Howell's St. Patty's Parade and Festival presented a check for nearly $206,000 to Children's of Mississippi for money raised from the event. The annual parade and festival has raised significant funds over the years to benefit pediatric care across the state. The founder of the event is Malcolm White. He said, when we started this partnership, the vision was simple: to celebrate together and support Mississippi's only children's hospital. Seeing that vision result in a $205,900 gift to Children's of Mississippi is incredibly meaningful and speaks to the generosity of this community. Great job. Outstanding. Outstanding. It's time for your morning sports update, brought to you by Pearl River Resort. Pearl River Resort, home of the Dancing Rabbit Golf Club, the Oaks and the Azaleas championship golf courses that you can play. You can book your tee time online at dancingrabbitgolf.com, but it's not just golf. It's family fun, casino thrills, and live entertainment, plus outstanding food. Outstanding food. Whether you're going for the casual Mama and M or headed over to Philip M Steakhouse, you are going to love it at Pearl River Resort. Week 9 of SEC baseball has arrived. Number 6, Arkansas. Number 11, Mississippi State. Game 1 of a 3-game series coming your way tonight at 7 o'clock. Big one. That's not right. It's number 6, Auburn. That is nobody's fault but my own and for typing late at night. I'm sure somebody has already corrected me. Number 6, Auburn at number 11, Mississippi State. I knew that wasn't right. Game 1 coming up. News for Mississippi State. Potentially significant. We will keep an eye on pitching staff health. Lance, did you see that news last night? Let's see if I can get the see if I can find the post. SEC baseball.
No, they're hoping for McPherson to get back.
That's it. He is no longer listed on the injury report.
That's huge. Huge for State. Well, they were playing so well before he went down.
He was not on the injury report for Mississippi State for the Auburn series, so perhaps a return of Ryan McPherson this weekend. We'll wait and see on that. You know, is it straight into a starting role? Is it out of the bullpen? Is it ramp him up? I mean, the guy that was at the front end of your staff returns in week 9 as you get ready to try and make a postseason run?
Yeah, I'm taking that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even if it's just as an opener
Thanks.
to start. Yeah.
Appreciate that very much. So you got that news out of Starkville. There's been so much made about the price of World Cup tickets. The FIFA president makes no apologies. Gianni Infantino has again defended high ticket prices for this summer's World Cup and brushed off seats for the final being sold or attempted to be resold at a record cost of more than $2 million. Come on. During an appearance at the Milken Institute Global Conference in Beverly Hills, Infantino addressed the criticism directed at the FIFA, which is soccer's governing body. FIFA has been accused by fans of a monumental betrayal on ticket cost, but he says, demand drives price, basically. He said this, we have to look at the market. We are in the market in which entertainment is the most developed in the world. So we have to apply market rates. And then points out that in the United States, it is permitted to resell tickets. So if FIFA priced all of its tickets low, resellers would just jack up the prices anyway. So the thought is they might as well make some money on them, though they're still seeing 100% price increases online. FIFA doesn't control the asking price on its resale platform, but it does take 15% of the purchase fee from the buyer and 15% resale fee from the seller. Is that a 30% VIG that I just read?
Yeah, it sounds like it. I mean, straight up math-wise, yeah. Man, boycott.
Group games. Tickets still remain, ranging in price from $380 to $4,105. That is not marked up. That's retail. How bad do you want to go?
Not that bad.
But for some, they do.
Oh, yeah, don't blame them. If they got the clams to shell out, have fun.
And if that's your thing, Mornings with Richard Cross. Sports Update brought to you by Pearl River Resort.
Good morning from the Venable.
On your smart speaker, phone, computer, and FM on your radio. Everywhere you listen, you'll find the voice of Mississippi. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Time for your Mississippi Lottery update, brought to you by the Mississippi Lottery, online at mslottery.com. Lots of new games, including Wheel of Fortune, that you can check out. No jackpot winner with the Powerball drawing from last night. So Saturday goes up to $47 million. The estimated cash value now just north of $21 million. Mega Millions continues to grow. The competition getting a little stronger. More people getting involved as we have a $215 million jackpot coming up on Friday. That is tomorrow night. $95,200,000 is the estimated cash value for that. That would be a pocket full of shekels if it worked out for you as the big winner. Get ready to spin big, Mississippi. The Mississippi Lottery is rolling out 3 all-new Wheel of Fortune scratch-off games this month. Tickets start at just $2. You can play your way up to top prizes of $200,000. Plus multipliers and instant wins on every ticket. The excitement doesn't stop there. Enter your non-winning tickets into the Mississippi Lottery Second Chance promotion for a shot at more than $250,000 in cash prizes and a chance to win a trip to Los Angeles to see a Wheel of Fortune live taping play today, and you could be the next big winner. Man, that Lotto America jackpot keeps growing as well. It's rolled up past $25 million. That's your update from the Mississippi Lottery, online at mslottery.com. That is mslottery.com. We have a busy morning with you. A lot of guests coming your way. Bill Cork, he'll be in at 7:20 this morning. We will get an update from the Mississippi Development Authority and just keep racking up the wins. One after another. Bill just got back from the Select USA Investment Summit in Washington, D.C. We'll get a read on what that meeting was like as well. The governor and a big team from Mississippi were there. 8 o'clock hour, kind of wall-to-wall guests. Scott Fox, music director and on-air personality at WCPR. CPR Fest is happening on the coast this weekend. We will get the rundown on from Scott on what to expect. We are going to try and visit with Scott Simmons from the Mississippi Emergency Management Association. Agency, not association, sorry. And hopefully be able to catch up with him. Had a lot on his plate this morning. He was going to try to work us in. And then today is Radiothon Day at Sanctuary Hospice in Tupelo. We're going to talk with Tiwana O'Rear about what's happening there. Just a great organization in the city of Tupelo, and a chance for you to contribute and be part of the incredible work that they have going there. I got one more sports item for you. The American Football Coaches Association has reached their recommendations for the year. They've got 4 changes that they are proposing for the calendar in college football. Ending conference championship games. So no more regular season and then conference championship games and then the playoff. Reducing open weeks during the year from 2 to 1. They say 1 is enough. Preserving an exclusive window for Army-Navy, but allowing other playoff games to be played on that day, just not during the time that Army and Navy are playing, and reducing the minimum number of days between games to no fewer than 6. Also, there is a proposal to have the college football season come to an end. I think it was the second Monday night of the month of January. Yeah. It's got to finish by the second Monday in January.
I have a proposal. Yeah, they need to have a Space Force team.
To go with Army, Navy, and Air Force?
Yeah, we'll have Air Force and Space Force, and then Army, Navy. Yeah, that'd be a great game.
I assume Elon will have to build the stadium.
Yes, yeah, he's got the money
on the moon,
wherever he wants to build it. Yeah, as long as he's willing to pay transport costs for the band and everybody, I'm good.
Yeah, it'd be quite the road trip. Quite the road trip. You thought World Cup tickets were expensive.
Yeah, but still, that would be an epic event.
7 o'clock hour is on the way. We'll get to the biggest news stories of the day involving us, Mississippians, right here. There is apparently pressure coming from the White House on Mississippi, on the governor, on the legislature to get after it with redistricting. We'll see what that reaction is. Mornings of Richard Cross, back with you. 7 o'clock hour coming up right after the news.
Brother got 'em, friend got 'em, I got 'em. I woke up this morning, we had them Statesboro blues. I looked over in the corner, Grandma and Grandpa had 'em too.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
My fellow citizens. Mornings with Richard Cross.
Right here, right now.
Super Talk, Mississippi.
Well, we're moving on now to the east side, to a deluxe apartment in the sky. Moving on to the east side.
We finally got a piece of the pie. Is that a top 5 all-time sitcom song?
Yeah, well, Good Times, A-Team, The Jeffersons.
There's 3 pretty good ones right there.
I've got a list of them here that I keep ready to roll at any time. I'm a huge fan of the 70s, 80s sitcom and dramas and stuff. You know, the intros; those are great. That's the best, though, to me. I mean, I started
L.A.
dancing.
Law was really good.
Excellent. St. Elsewhere, L.A. Law, bunch of great ones.
Yeah. That might go into my number 1 slot.
That's my number 1, though. That's definitely top of the list. And Good Times is right behind that. So,
yeah. Might we be continuing with that theme today?
We could.
Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, I was sneaking
we'll
one
see
in
how
to
it feels.
see.
Yeah, well, we'll see how it feels to you. I mean, I felt moved.
Well, you got Hawaii 5-0.
Knight Rider.
Oh, no, I have that one. I actually edited one that I had made up for Paul. It was just a joke, and I sent it over to him like, Paul Gallo, he is on a hunt for, It's
pretty good.
Yeah, good stuff.
That's pretty good. Mornings presented by Community Bank. At Community Bank, we're more than just a place to manage your money. We're your neighbors, your partners, and your trusted financial advisors. For decades, we've been rooted in our community, helping families, small businesses, and individuals achieve their dreams, whether it's opening your first savings account, planning for a brighter future, or growing your business. We're here every step of the way, dedicated to our customers, committed to your success, and always here when you need us. Community Bank, rooted in our community, member FDIC. C-Spire text line is open, 601-879-4395. So much happening at C-Spire. That is the best way for you to connect with us. Love for you to do that and to be part of the conversation. What level of pressure is the right amount of pressure for the White House to apply on the state of Mississippi? What is appropriate? We have been asking the question for months about redistricting in Mississippi. We have been talking about this. Me, you, all of us together. Not a lot of other folks have been previously. That has changed. Byron Jeffries, who is running for governor in Florida, can't keep Mississippi out of his mouth, saying Mississippi's got to do this. Mississippi's got to do this. Hey, go win an election, man. We'll do our thing. I'm for you. I'm already good. Love the direction your campaign's going, but calm down. All of the influencers, they went crazy again last night after Tate Reeves kind of alluded to the fact that this might be something that we look at in the special session. You heard, if you listened closely, Secretary of State Michael Watson, I asked him, with all of the legal maneuvering, the legal wrangling over the SCOTUS redistricting, was there even going to be a need for a special session? Like, is there a ruling that Sherry and Aycock might make that would just make null and void the need for a special session unless Tate Reeves changed or expanded the call? When he made it, when he made the decision that, hey, the legislature's coming back for a special session, we talked about, I actually thought there was some wisdom in 3 weeks following the announcement of Louisiana Calais. And I thought, hey, that gives you some time. Time to get your ducks in a row, time to figure out, get your lines drawn, figure out what you're going to do, and then figure out if you want to expand. The problem is time is not on the side of Mississippi right now. We've already had primaries. Michael Watson laid that timeline out yesterday, and he said it is tight. The most likely way that we would get through this, if you wanted to avoid having primaries again, would be going to a caucus system, where basically the party caucuses decide who the candidate is going to be, and there would be a handshake agreement, if you will, that the caucuses would choose the candidates that won the primaries. And if it's a new district altogether, who would, I mean, it wouldn't matter. Whatever district Benny Thompson is going to be in, Democrats would caucus and have him as their candidate. Who would be the second district, or whatever that district looked like going forward, Republican candidate? Because all of a sudden, look, and there's no disrespect, none. Kevin Wilson and Ron Eller were throwing money away when they were running to represent Republicans in the second district against Benny Thompson. I'm sorry for describing it that way. I appreciate both of them being willing to throw their name in the ring and fight the good fight. But you're not beating Benny Thompson in that race with the second district as it exists right now. And then Ron Eller edged out Kevin Wilson in that Republican primary. Do Republicans just caucus and put Ron Eller up against Benny Thompson? Or is there a new name that emerges on that Republican side of things? There are a lot of people that would be frustrated. I saw somebody say yesterday, if they invalidate the primaries, it will say to me that it will have directly disenfranchised me, and I'll never vote again. I don't know that I would go that strongly. But I lay out, those are some of the issues that have to be sorted through as this call from Washington, D.C. gets louder and louder and louder from the president, from the administration, from the online influencers. You know, you're getting your time is now, Mississippi. Don't wait. Do it right now. And I want to be like, hey, you've never cared about us before. All of a sudden, we're on your radar. Just slow your roll a little bit. Thanks for your concern. We appreciate it. Yes, we exist here. Just calm down. We're working through this. So we will see what that looks like. And, of course, you have the sitting Representative Benny Thompson going on national outlets and saying that this is the equivalent to a second civil war. Even if it's not about race, Benny's going to find a way to make it about race. Every single time. And you know why? It's the same reason that the Southern Poverty Law Center was allegedly funneling money to the Klan. Because you and me and everyday Mississippians across the state are sick and tired of talking about race all the time. But Democrats, especially elected or seeking election Democrats, need race. Race sells, race votes, race divides. And it's the reason that Benny Thompson invokes civil war right out of the gate as fast as he can get the words out of his mouth. Boom! Let's make this about race. Why? You know why. Because he wants to spend 2 more years in Washington, D.C., and then 2 more years after that. You're absolutely right, Paul. It is a dog whistle. And yet, here we are, and the Supreme Court has said, you know what? If you have drawn a voting district that is based on the color of someone's skin, then what you have done is unconstitutional. And there's no question that the 2nd District was drawn to create a majority-minority district, which means it was drawn based on color of skin.
Good morning from the Venable Glass.
Where Mississippi wakes up smarter. Headlines, context, and the conversations that matter most. Mornings with Richard Cross, right here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Mornings with Richard Cross. Thanks for joining us. Glad to be with you. Quick update. Most recent post from the governor, Tate Reeves, on the storms from last night. There were some damage assessments that were ongoing. Let's see. I had it pulled up. We got it right here. As of now, 17 injuries reported. Initial damage assessments indicate 275 homes and 50 apartment units damaged or inaccessible in Lamar County. 30 roads closed due to debris. County shelter and safe room is open, and American Red Cross support is available there in Lamar County. More than 200 homes damaged in Lincoln County. The Cajun Navy is deploying a 50-person shelter pod along with 30-kilowatt generator and 10 pallets of supplies to Lincoln County. 12 homes damaged in Lawrence County. These are all preliminary numbers, and MEMA is both supporting and assessing right now, and we hope that in the 8 o'clock hour we'll have a chance to catch up with Scott Simmons. Right now, though, we get a chance to catch up with our first guest of the day, Bill Cork, world traveler, both domestic and abroad. He had a bunch of abroad meetings recently that were domestic, that were in Washington, D.C., at the Select USA Investment Summit. Bill, good morning.
Good morning, Richard. Good to see you again.
So how about that event? Looked like a lot of Asian country representation that was there, talking about jobs and projects and facilities, and I'm assuming receiving pitches from lots of states that want to be like Mississippi and keep attracting these projects.
Well, Select USA is the premier foreign direct investment conference in the United States. It started actually back during the Obama administration as a way to attract foreign investment into the United States. And what it looks like when you walk into this conference is it looks like the United States. Every state has a booth, and everybody's trying to pitch their wares, and over 5,000 registrations from across the world, companies from across the world come and get to shop the states for where they want to make investments in the U.S. And so the governors show up, all the secretaries of commerce like myself kind of show up. They have big delegations, and all the consultants that surround this industry show up, and it's just a giant bazaar, if you will, of possible foreign direct investment.
If you've ever been a first-time attendee or have a booth at a conference, sometimes you don't know what you're getting into the first time you go, and you feel like you wasted time and wasted money being there. How much planning happens in advance to set up meetings and have very specific events when something like this is going on versus just showing up and saying, "Hey, come see us"?
No, it's all the work. All the benefit from conferences all happens way before they happen. So we have our team puts together dedicated meetings and schedules. There's also an app that the conference uses to allow companies we've never even heard of to reach out to us to schedule meetings, and we get those schedules put in place, and then we bring in our partners from the utility companies and the local communities and my team to help staff those meetings. The booth has like 6 meeting tables in our booth, and they were full nonstop for 2.5 days. We brought the governor in on Monday to meet with select key executives and to attend some really important receptions in the evening. And it's just a full court press to try to show the best of what Mississippi has to offer.
We know that over the last handful of years, while Governor Reeves has been in office, the focus has been on economic development, and there have been a lot of wins. We've talked about those. They're well documented, and they continue. I'm curious. This is probably a silly question that is an easy answer, but do companies and countries take notice of the states that are excelling and are stacking projects up one on top of the other?
Well, success begets success. That's what the governor likes to say, and we try to build that momentum early and change the reputation that we had about Mississippi, and that is paying dividends. Almost every major industrial development looking at a location in the Southeast Conference is looking at Mississippi. That just gets to the short list. I was thinking on the way in here as I was listening to you talk about a variety of issues, a conversation I had recently with about 5 years ago with a site selection consultant who was on a panel at one of these major site selection conferences, and he was bad-mouthing Mississippi on the panel about how he could never bring a prospect there because of our flag and because of perception issues and our racial history and the whole thing. And that same consultant was in the state this week with a major multi-billion-dollar project. So the reality is,
were you able to gently remind him of his words from just a few years ago?
No,
or did you decide to kind of let bygones be bygones?
I've been accused of being a lot of things, and diplomatic isn't always one of them. But in this case, I thought restraint was the better measure here. But nevertheless, this reality is not only being perceived, I think, throughout Mississippi, but certainly throughout the industry, where the governor's now invited to talk about our success as a key feature. In fact, you can go to C-SPAN 2 and watch his speech at Select USA online. Fantastic representation of what the state's been able to do, and he did that in front of an audience of 5,000 people at that conference, this huge trade show area. And so, we're on the map, Richard, and it's a really exciting time to be doing economic development here.
There is probably no bigger name in business right now than that of Elon Musk. And when he says something specifically about your state, especially when it is packaged in a nice little soundbite, it kind of becomes or can become a rallying cry. Is that what has happened with speed to market being insane in Mississippi, the words of Elon Musk, at least paraphrased?
If you listen to any of the governor's speeches about economic development and our success, what he boils it down to one thing. We try to help companies go from spending money to making money the fastest. That's really the true incentive. That's the true message that every investor wants to know is if I bring my capital here, how fast can I go from spending money to making money the fastest? And when you've got Elon Musk saying that the reason he picked Mississippi was because of our insane speed, I mean, we had on the back.
He's not a patient guy.
No, he's not. Well, his company, I've never seen anything like it. I think we talked about this the last time I was on your show, but we had our booth at the Select USA. It had a wall about 30 feet long by about 14 feet high, and we put that quote on the back wall. That's all it said. It's like, we've got speed in Mississippi, and that's all you have to tell these companies to get them interested in, well, what does that mean, and why does Elon Musk say that? And it just opens the conversation.
In my area of focus prior to kind of moving into the mornings and being locked in on news and politics, it was always sports. One of the questions that I always loved asking coaches was, hey, what's your recruiting pitch? When you're in a living room, when you're on a phone call with a player that you want or parents that you're trying to convince, and nobody ever really wanted to boil it down. We never got like the full sell from a coach on exactly the way they do it. I'm curious in terms of recruiting businesses, when you look at the competition, we know that South Carolina is a place that's on fire. Louisiana is being incredibly aggressive right now. So is Arkansas. Do you know what their pitches are compared to what you are pitching and how you're doing it?
We study this extensively. I've got a whole marketing and research department that focuses on comparative advantages in the other states and what they're doing on incentives and how they're positioning their logistics infrastructure and, what their business climate is like. I mean, I'll give you an example right now. We're up against North Carolina in a lot of neck-and-neck competitions, but right now North Carolina can't get a budget passed out of their legislature. So believe me, I'm telling anybody who's looking at North Carolina, you really want to go in a place that's that unstable? We help with that. But the truth is, we're not really competing against the states. When we make a sales pitch, our best effort is to understand what are the key drivers of that particular company, and they always focus on one of three things or all three things: speed to market, risk management, and their financial and their creditworthiness, their financial balance sheet. How are those three things going to perform in Mississippi? And we try to drill down into those ideas of speed, risk, and money, and then customize an offering that demonstrates we understand their need, that we have credible proof we can address what they want to do, and that we have a value proposition that can stand up to public scrutiny and testimonials from other companies. We focus almost exclusively on the relationship between us and the company. And then when we get down to those final, competitions where we may be a semifinalist with another state, then we start to worry about the comparative advantages of other states. But in the first instance, our pitch is, what can we do for you to meet your needs?
I'm sure you saw the news from Louisiana this week. I think it was Governor Landry that talked about this potential 130,000 plus acre site where they're targeting aerospace development. Does that feel like direct competition? Is that something that is that too big of a project? Is that too big of a land opportunity, or do we have the ability to go after something like that in Mississippi?
Well, look, I mean, there's a lot of economic development done by press release, right? Mm-hmm. When you're trying to change the perception of your state. And Louisiana's got a new governor and a new Secretary of Commerce over there, head of Louisiana Economic Development, and they've done a lot of planning, a lot of strategy, and a lot of messaging. And we're proud of that. We like the competition in the neighborhood. I think I've shared with you before. We've seen that ascendancy in Arkansas. It's a little less so in Alabama and Tennessee right now for a number of reasons. But I'm not so worried about what they're trying to do as much as I'm worried about what we're trying to do. And one thing I will tell you, Richard, is this last legislative session, our legislature and our governor fully funded the requests of MDA. We're one of the few agencies that got full funding. They reloaded all of our incentive programs. They've expanded our site development program. We put together an Energy Spark program. We are, we are loaded for bear, and we are prepared to continue the march.
More with Bill Cork coming up right after this. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi.
From the Seabrook.com.
Of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Reaching across the state and across the aisle. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
This hour of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by MWG Employer Services. Running a business is tough, and if you're struggling with HR, benefits, and payroll, you're not alone. That's where MWG Employer Services comes in. They can provide a full range of employer services plus a custom plan that fits you. Give them a call today at 601-206-7966 or go to mwgemployerservices.com. Don't forget the C Spire text line is open to you. That's the best way for you to join the conversation. 601-879-4395. Bill Cork is the executive director at the Mississippi Development Authority and is my guest this morning, and certainly always appreciate your time. I feel like it was probably a year, maybe a year and a half ago when you and I first visited, and the state during Tate Reeves' time as governor was at about maybe $40 billion or so in new investment. And you told me at the time, we're not slowing down, we're going to continue. That number has come close to doubling or maybe more than doubled in the last 12 months. Is that right?
Yeah, it's over $80 billion now. And $60 billion of that is data centers. And so I want to be very clear, that when you rack them up $10 billion at a time, that number gets really big. Mm-hmm. But we've done over $20 billion in business expansions and smaller projects that often don't get the same attention that the data centers do. And just to compare that, I think in the previous 8 years to the Tate Reeves administration, there's about $7.5 billion in capital investment done. So it's almost 3 times just in the smaller projects. That doesn't even include the bigger projects. We've closed over 200, and I think we're over 220 deals now. And I've got about $180 billion in my pipeline at the moment, and another 45,000 jobs, over 150 projects looking at us right now. So it's just a never-ending pipeline of opportunities.
Is there any way to predict a close rate on a number like that, $180 billion additionally? Our close rate kind of varies by sector. So where we have a strong natural resource advantage, we tend to get to a finish line a little quicker. For some that are just looky-loos that are looking at the whole Southeast Conference, we may be one of 14 states they're looking at, so the probability that we get a short list is a lot lower in those cases. We are seeing a lot of interest right now in the maritime and blue economy sector. In particular, we just hosted 30 Japanese shipbuilders here on the coast a couple of weeks ago that are seriously looking for their required investments that they're having to make underneath the President Trump's new trade deals. And so, for areas where we have a competitive advantage, like in the maritime economy or in forest products and things like that, we tend to do really, really well, very high closing rates. When it comes to traditional, say, consumer products, where they're looking for a very low cost, very logistics sensitive market, we are going to have a hard time competing with some of the major metro areas in the Southeast Conference. That's just kind of the way it is. But they look at us anyway. You've said Southeast Conference several times. That's the footprint that you think about when you're talking about this region of the country, what we kind of think about in terms of football as well.
Yeah, it's exactly the same overlay, from Texas to the Carolinas and probably up to Kentucky. Increasingly, we're seeing Ohio and Indiana come into our picture as potential competitors as they sort of emerge in a much more competitive business climate. And they've got huge populations and big universities and things like that are really, really tough for us to compete with. So, we're increasingly seeing some of the more upper Midwest states. We still haven't seen places like Illinois or Michigan or New York or anything like that very often. Although that does happen, it's very rare. Usually the companies that are doing manufacturing in particular, Richard, are looking for certain logistics advantages. And so we happen to have those, and the Carolinas happen to have those. And it just depends on the type of company and what they're really trying to move around the world. All
right, so you talk about having success in specific sectors. What about when you have, and this is a somewhat local example to where I am, you have these regional development groups. We've talked so much about what has happened in the Golden Triangle over the course of the last decade and a half, 2 decades. But you have other groups that are trying to kind of break into that game as well, partnering with multiple counties to kind of put their best foot forward. I've heard where I am a focus on, hey, we can become a hub for defense intelligence or defense type companies that are a little bit different, maybe more technologically based than manufacturing based. How do you break into a relatively new sector so that Mississippi can have a success story like Redstone in Huntsville?
Well, clustering is always really important, and you'll notice, we have a lot of defense and blue economy tech and defense tech on the coast. I mean, that's a classic example. But in your neck of the woods in Oxford, what we're seeing is a lot of interest in pharmaceuticals, for example. You've got a great school of pharmacy, lots of chemists, a great research environment around biology and life sciences. Ryan Miller was at the Select USA conference, and of course, he has the Oxford Lafayette area economic development group, and he's bringing those companies back. I think he's got a couple leads that have scheduled site visits just from the conference in those kind of verticals. And so I think you have to go with where your niche specialties are and kind of pitch those. And that's what each region of the state is trying to do. The Golden Triangle they're on the plains. They had a lot of open land, a lot of easy developable spots. So you got the bigger, large footprint industrial companies that tended to locate there, and they had abundant power and some redundancy and good logistics infrastructure with the port there and rail. So that's a natural advantage for them. They also had the university up the road. But you've got, in Hattiesburg, for example, you've got a really interesting polymers cluster and forest products cluster because you're in the Pine Belt. And on the coast, you've got the maritime defense-related stuff with our military special forces and Navy oceanography. And so you see companies like Ocean Aero, which are doing ocean drones, are in that cluster. And so each region of the state has its own advantages. In the Delta, it's ag and ag tech, and we're seeing a lot of interest in that, as well as I'm seeing a new resurgence now in value-added manufacturing around things like cotton and textiles, using rice hulls for production of value-added products, because they know that the farmers up there are having trouble with the international market. So you see manufacturers trying to swoop in there and seeing if they can't get some low-cost feedstock to support their operations. So it just depends on where you are in the state and what regional competitive advantages you have.
Question on the C Spire text line, and this is maybe the most important question, although I do think there are layers to it, and it's, are Mississippians getting these jobs? You mentioned a second ago with that $180 billion in the pipeline and a potential 45,000 new jobs. Are those jobs that are going to Mississippians? I guess the layer that I would add to that question is, but it's not all bad if people come from out of state and move to Mississippi also, because now you're talking about increased tax base and growth within the state as well, and people coming as opposed to leaving.
Yeah, I mean, I heard a quote from for example, from Amazon Web Services that's got the big data centers in Madison County. Their workforce folks told us they're hiring about 80% of the people are in-state folks.
Really?
Yeah. Most of the
that certainly is a percentage that you can live with, right?
Yeah, you could live with that, and think about the new talent that we're bringing in here and experiencing the state, and that are going to bring those great high-paying jobs and their skills, and then add value to our communities and our culture and quality of life. And you look at any of the other manufacturers, and you're going to see probably similar percentages. The existing family-owned kind of businesses around the state, like Taylor Machine Works and Holmac, and companies that were organically developed here in Mississippi, multi-generation, Howard Industries, almost 100% of their employees and their expansions are local. So, we're benefiting Mississippi citizens, right? And where we don't have the skills and the numbers we need, we have to go outside the market to get those, and we welcome those folks. I mean, Richard, I'm not from Mississippi. I got a pretty good job, so it's, I think we're contributing,
There's kind of an old South adage that if you ain't from here, it's kind of hard to become from here. I've heard some executives in interviews, whether it's that you've talked about or Gerard has had conversations with, or that we've had conversations here, where people say, no, that's not what we find. We are finding that Mississippi is incredibly welcoming. Our people are ingratiating themselves when they come in. They're not trying to reinvent the wheel when they get here. What's your experience with that?
Well, Gad Saad just came to Mississippi, the University of Mississippi, and he's a popular pundit and kind of a political figure. And,
right.
and he had an ex-post the other day that talked about how welcome he felt. And I felt compelled to retweet that and talk about my wife and my own experience here when we came here 10 years ago. We just got loved on. People took us in. They made sure we had a church home. They made sure, like for me, when I first got here, I didn't have a place to live, and I got put up by in the monastery down at St. Augustine's in Bay St. Louis. They found a place for me to stay for a couple weeks until I found a place to live. And it's just this.
You didn't have to take a vow of silence?
I didn't, but it was really cool, and I got to go pray with the priest, the retired priest, there every morning for a few weeks, and it was amazing welcome. And I believe that the hospitality that Mississippi promotes is real, and it's addictive, And if you share those values and you love people back, it's amazing. And I just think it's real, and we experienced it ourselves.
The success story is also real, and it is not ending yet. Bill, I appreciate your time as always. Thanks for the update, and let's catch up soon.
Thank you, Richard. Have a great one.
Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming at supertalk.fm, and of course on your SuperTalk Mississippi radio stations. Thanks for being with us. More MRC after this.
Good morning from the Venable.
And now, Mornings with Richard Cross.
What's up? Let's get the show going.
Super Talk Mississippi.
Good to be with you this morning. It is Mornings with Richard Cross presented by Community Bank. I want to give you an update from some of the severe weather that made its way through Mississippi. Let's start with this, and then we're going to check in with one of our friends at the National Weather Service. This is from a representative with the United Cajun Navy from about an hour ago.
Hey guys, Josh Gill, United Cajun Navy. It's 6, almost 7 May 2026. I'm at Gene's Mobile Home Supply at the trailer park here in Boca Chica, Northfield. Guys, I need to get this out to everybody real quick. I just spoke with the sheriff and the EMA director. There are zero confirmed fatalities right now for this tornado. Zero. Let's stop with the rumors. Let's stop with the BS. People are saying there's 4 and 5. There's zero.
All right, so that from the United Cajun Navy already making their way over to Boca Chica, where we have seen extensive damage, especially in that trailer park. And Eric is with us this morning from the National Weather Service in Jackson. Eric, I appreciate your time. I know a busy night and a busy morning as well. What can you tell us about the storm system that came through central and west and south Mississippi yesterday?
Yes, it's definitely quite a busy event. And as it turns out, we know of 3 significant tornado tracks. These occurred from one from near south, a little south of Natchez, over to south of Bude, and then another that extended a little east of there from eastern Franklin County across Lincoln County, going from south of Brookhaven, then over towards Lawrence County, and then from Lamar County over into Forest County, we have another significant tornado track. In all 3 of these cases, we're sending teams out today to assess the damage and determine an official rating. All we know right now is that these were likely strong to potentially violent tornadoes, and you've definitely heard about a lot of the damage and everything. So we'll be going out there to assess that.
We always need that information, right? I mean, we need to know the EF category and we need to know the wind speeds, but sometimes we get too wrapped up in that if we just open our eyes, we see the damage. And we've seen some of those images that have come from different parts of the state of Mississippi. Suffice it to say, regardless of what category tornado this was, what the rating of the tornado was, this was a very damaging event, right? Oh,
yeah, absolutely. And really, there was a lot of damage that occurred outside these tornadoes. We had other storms across central and south Mississippi, and there may be other tornado tracks. We're not sure about those yet, but we're kind of hitting these big ones first, and then we'll look for other potential tracks as well. But you're right about the damage. In Mississippi, there were a lot of things to damage, a lot of forest, mobile homes that are easily damaged. So for to kind of go along with what you're saying, somebody could get hit by a weak tornado, and for them, that's their personal, violent tornado situation. Yeah. So it doesn't have to be a EF3 or EF4.
Eric, a meteorologist at the National Weather Center based in Jackson. He's visiting with us about the storm damage yesterday. So many times the difference in people living and dying, people being safe and being in the path of the storm is the amount of lead time they have. Were the predictive models where they needed to be for yesterday's storms, and did people have an adequate amount of time to seek shelter or to get out of the path of these storms?
Yeah, absolutely. Lead time is definitely one of the critical things that we track with our verification. With the tools we have, we do our best to, there's different levels. In days in advance, we look for areas that are favorable for severe weather, and then as we get closer to the event, we ramp things up with, say, a tornado watch, as was the case yesterday, and we try to prepare people and make sure that they know where they're going to take shelter. They need to know when not to be far from shelter. So we try to make sure people are prepared for these events. And then as the storms actually develop, we're working hard to try to get a warning out well in advance to make sure people have time to put their plans into action.
Eric, only 30 seconds left until the break. At least so far, it appears like we avoided tragic loss of life in this. As you look ahead to the next few days, are we okay, or is there concern about another big round of storms on the way? There's some potential for getting additional storms, but as of now, we don't see anything that's close to being this significant in terms of being severe. Not going to rule out there being a very marginal, severe type risk, but as of now, there's nothing that's where we have to worry about, say, like mobile home parks getting destroyed. Eric, I appreciate your time this morning and wish you all the best.
All right, take care. Thanks.
News is next. Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank.
Grab another cup of coffee and start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross, here on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Good to be with you on this Thursday morning. It is Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi. Thanks for joining us. The C Spire text line is open. 601-879-4395 is the number. Don't forget about the great deals at C Spire. For new and current customers, you can get a free phone, a free watch, and a free tablet, and 100 gigs of data for just $90 a month. There's more to see at cspire.com. C-Spire, customer inspired. Happy to welcome Scott Fox into the conversation this morning. He's the music director and an on-air personality at WCPR on the coast. We have made it to the weekend, almost. CPR Fest happening this weekend. Scott, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Richard. How you doing, man?
Doing well. I appreciate your time this morning. Big weekend coming up. This has been a big event for a lot of years. Tell us about CPR Fest.
This will be our 22nd CPR Fest. And, man, we've had so many bands come down here and play for us. We're going to be doing it this Saturday. It's been we've had about a 2-year, maybe a 3-year break since we've been able to do one. So we're happy we were able to put one together this year, and it's going to be this Saturday at the Mississippi Coast Coliseum in Biloxi.
Headliner is Stained, is that right? The CPR Fest is hard rock, right? We're talking heavy metal?
Well, no, not all heavy metal.
Okay.
It's some light, some hard, some medium, yeah. But Stain's not a real heavy band, as they say. But they're our headliner, and we've got other bands, Sleep Theory, From Ashes to New, Nonpoint, they're a pretty heavy band. 0936, those are our main stage performers, and then we have some unsigned regional bands playing as well. We usually have a homegrown stage, so we planned on having 2 stages, but because of the weather coming in, we've moved everything inside. So everybody's going to be playing on the main stage. The homegrown bands will play a little bit shorter sets to accommodate, moving equipment in and out. We've got 5 homegrown bands and 5 national bands. Yeah.
You always have the weather concern this time of year, and sometimes it's perfect, and sometimes it's pretty good to have the option of being inside as opposed to just relying on that outside setup and having to bang the whole thing.
Man, it's too bad because we love having it outside, but we can't do anything about the weather. But at least we have a place to move it inside. And we made that call this morning, so if you're planning on coming to CPR Fest, don't worry about getting all rain. Except for getting from the car to the venue, you might get a little wet. But other than that, you'll be okay. You'll be just fine.
Bring a rain jacket, and you won't melt. It'll be okay. Scott, tell us about the history of CPR Fest. You mentioned the 22nd time that this has happened. It was an annual event for a long time. Had the little bit of break that you talked about. How did this all come about when it first started?
Well, years ago, Kenny Vest and myself were at a station in New Orleans called the Zephyr. And we started doing Zephyr Fest, which is an alternative rock festival in New Orleans. And then we both ended up over here on the Mississippi coast, and we took a country radio station and turned it into rock, made it CPR, and started doing the fest here. I mean, at one time we had the fest was a 2-day fest, and people could camp out the first night. We've had that happen, but that was years ago. And these shows are really kind of tough to put together, and every year they seem to get tougher and tougher and tougher. And that's why we've had a 3-year break, but finally happy to be able to do it this year.
So music festivals as they exist, we know that there are big ones that happen all over the country, some just massive ones like happen in Nashville, and then there's some western locales kind of in the mountains where they've really grown these festivals. People like to get away from the heat in the middle of the summer and go listen to great music. What are the challenges that exist now in terms of putting together and scheduling the bands and making sure everybody's schedules work together and pulling an event off like this?
Kenny Vest handles that part of the planning, but those big festivals, they play a big part because, they may have a 500-mile radius clause, or they bring in so many bands, it's just impossible to get them in for the weekend we need them. They may be across the country, and then if you have to, they call it a one-off. If you pay a band to come in from across the country, you're going to pay 3 times more because all their equipment and everything. It just costs so much more. So it's really tough to put these things together these days. So thankful for Kenny Vest for being able to pull it off this year.
How much competition is there in trying to, because music festivals can be highly profitable. They can, benefit charities. There are lots of different ways that these go together. But in terms of competition to get people to your place, how much is there?
Well, there's always some competition, but CPR Fest, we've done this for so many years now. It's kind of got a name. People constantly ask us, when's CPR Fest? Who's coming to CPR Fest? So, we have that niche audience, rock groups, and the ages, from children to grandparents, because we've been doing this for many years, like almost 30 years now, CPR Fest. So, the competition's out there, but people who like rock music know about CPR Fest in this region, and they try to make it in.
What kind of crowd are you expecting this weekend?
We Crawfish Fest was 2 weeks ago. I'm not sure the numbers on their crowd, but they had really good crowd there. It was all outside. The weather was perfect, by the way, for that. We probably going to double that.
Okay.
We're probably going to double what they had. So thousands of people.
That'll be outstanding. You've been involved with this for a while, as you've said. Is there a performance through the years that stands out for you, or kind of immediately pops to mind when you kind of think about the history of this event? You're like, wow, that was really special.
There was one that has always stuck in my mind from a band that I don't even think they're around anymore, and nobody's probably remembers them, but a band called Kay's Choice. And they had a song called Not an Addict. That was their big hit back in the day.
Okay.
And she performed that song on stage in the rain, ironically. And it was just a great performance and a memory. I don't know. It's just burned into my head. I'll never forget that. It was really cool.
The In the Rain caught my attention because I always, when I think about performers in the rain, I go back to Prince at the Super Bowl and that little mini documentary that goes around, and you got the producer of the event who's scared to death to call Prince and be like, it's raining, and his response is, can you make it rain harder? I mean, and then he does Purple Rain in the rain at the Super Bowl and just knocks it out of the park. So sometimes the weather can
that
lead
was
to
fantastic.
those. Yeah. What do people need to know if they are wanting to attend, if they're in the region and want to make a trip in this weekend for CPR Fest?
Okay, it's at the Mississippi Coast Coliseum. Doors will open at 1 o'clock. You can get your tickets at the box office, so you can go there and get them. You don't have to pay Ticketmaster fees if you do that.
Okay.
First band will take the stage at 2 p.m. You can't bring chairs in because we're moving it inside, so you can't do that. So just bring yourself, bring some money. It's actually it's cashless now at the Coliseum. So bring a debit card with you.
Bring some plastic. There you go.
Bring some plastic. You're going to have to use that for parking and all food and drinks inside.
All right. So you can get tickets at the box office. If it's more convenient, you can go the Ticketmaster route. But and then how many bands total? You said 10?
We've got 10 total. Yeah, 5 national, 5 regional.
Outstanding. So this gets started at 1 o'clock and will go until midnight-ish?
Probably till about 10:30, 11 o'clock.
Okay.
10:30, 11. Yeah.
So you're getting almost a full half day of music at CPR Fest this weekend. Should be a great time, Scott. Really appreciate your time and all the updates, and wish you the best this weekend.
Come down and hang with us, Richard. Thank you, man.
All right. Try to make it. Scott Fox, WCPR. That's CPR on the coast, with CPR Fest happening at the Mississippi Coast Coliseum this weekend. Lance, you might have to call in sick for, well, you wouldn't even have to do that. You could knock out Garden Mama and do the Handyman show and then jump in the car and head south. And
got baseball after that, though. Yeah.
Well, I know, but we'll have to find somebody for that. We'll just have to find your fill-in for that, and then you can crush some music in the afternoon.
I'd love to, man. Anytime you get a visit to down south and hear music, yeah, you kidding me? I'd be down for that.
Not a bad way to go. Hey, don't forget the 91st annual meeting of the Delta Council will take place tomorrow at The Lawn at the MSU Delta Research and Extension Center in Stoneville. This event marks a significant change from the 90-year tradition at Delta State, with the meeting being held about a month earlier than normal. Keynote speaker for the event will be Representative G.T. Thompson, who is on the House Committee on Agriculture. Salute to honor graduates. A big part of the program begins at 9 a.m., the business session at 10:30. For more information, visit their website, deltacouncil.org. That's deltacouncil.org. I've been to a few of the Delta Council meetings through the years. Always a good time. deltacouncil.org for the 91st annual meeting of Delta Council. We'll take a time out. We're back with you right after this. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
A deep dive into the news and debates driving the day, all on your ride to work. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi.
Thanks for being with with us. It is Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming at supertalk.fm, SuperTalk TV, and of course on the SuperTalk Mississippi app. Scott Simmons joins us now. He is the Chief Communications Officer with the Mississippi Emergency Management Agency, MEMA, if you prefer. I sent Scott a text about 10 o'clock last night and was like, friend, I know you're busy, but if you've got any time for us, we sure would appreciate it. He has come through. Scott, good morning.
Good morning. It has been a long night, Richard. It really has been, but it's been a minor blessing as we sit there at 8:21, and so far no reports of any fatalities, and we have our fingers crossed that continues to be the case.
Amen to that. Give us a little bit of a rundown on what officially has been reported in terms of damage and where the hardest hit areas were.
Well, there's a lot of hard-hit areas. We have some better reporting numbers coming out of Lamar County, for example.
Okay.
275 homes that were damaged or inaccessible, 50 apartment units damaged or inaccessible. We have 30 roads closed due to debris. Lamar County EOC took a direct hit. They had their windows knocked out in some spots, and they were on generator as of last night. They are operational, though. In fact, they've set up a shelter there at the Lamar County Safe Room for survivors. The address is 99 Central Industrial Row in Purvis, Mississippi. You've seen the video and the pictures of Purvis. It took a massive hit, as well as our mobile home facility over there in Bogachita, Mississippi, in the Lincoln County area. And, man, it took a big hit. The debris is strewn all across the area. Those people's homes or mobile homes were turned to pieces, and that's why we're looking at easily a EF3 or perhaps stronger. We know the National Weather Service is on the ground now, moving throughout the path of that tornado that kind of swiped across the side of the state, central and west, and they're starting to do the assessments of the impact and strength of these storms.
Scott, we know that Mississippi is an incredibly giving state, and we tend to be at our best when things are at their worst. For people in other parts of the state that would like to help in the aftermath of these storms that were so difficult on so many communities, what's the message at this point?
We're asking them that they not just go rushing into the area. We already have groups like Cajun Navy and Mercy Chefs that are moving in, and we're asking that they call it here at MEMA so that we can help coordinate that volunteer response. 601-933, MEMA will get you to the right person, and that way we can direct people who want to help to the areas that need help. Some areas, as you know, in these events, get a rush of volunteers, and then there's other areas that need help that maybe have not gotten the press attention or just the eyes on them. So we want to encourage people to be calm, to be thoughtful as they volunteer their efforts and coordinate that way so we can direct them to the right place to go so that we can get people the most help.
We talked with Eric from the National Weather Service, meteorologist there, and just a little while ago, and asked him about lead time. So much of the ability to respond effectively has to do with preparation before storms come in. Did you feel like MEMA had adequate lead time to be ready to hit the ground running as soon as it was safe in the dark last night?
I mean, as much warning as we could. We sounded the alarms early yesterday when it started really sizing up that this was going to be a problem, and we were relying on our meteorology partners to help us spread that word as they were sharing information of what this could do. And, they're our vital lifeline as we track storms like this, and the advances in early warning systems continue to get better. It's why we always encourage people to have your alerts turned on your phone, have a weather radio, listen to our news providers, and follow them during events like this, because our worst fear is when we have storms come in overnight. Mm-hmm. That's when people often let their guards down. They like watch a television show and may not be monitoring. And so, we feel like we're doing a better job. I always say we can always do better and reach more people. We certainly want to here at MEMA, because we're about helping people avoid danger and recover when it does come.
In terms of resources being deployed today by MEMA, what does that look like?
Well, it is a moving target, if you will. We're continuing to coordinate with response efforts. We have teams that have moved into the Lincoln and Franklin County areas assisting. We've also dispatched staff in Lincoln and Franklin counties to help in the response efforts. And we'll probably be doing more shelter setups and things of that nature as our volunteer partners get in and start setting up those types of operations. And, this is going to be a growing response as we get a better handle on just how much damage was done.
I was reminded last night when I was trying to kind of track what was going on and keep up with damage that sometimes it's hard to go to a single place to get your news. You've got to sample different local newspapers or television stations, and you're trying to kind of cobble it all together to make it make sense. Is there a central place that people can go for updated information on shelters, disaster recovery, response efforts, any resources that will be available?
We certainly like to promote our MEMA website and our mobile app. We also encourage people, to turn to our news providers like SuperTalk, and that's where good information is put out. We will be putting that information out about where people can go for shelters and things like that. And, having worked in news so long, I now know the value more so sitting back of emergency responders relying on our news partners to spread that vital information in events like this, because it's so important when people can turn to the radio and television to see the weather that's coming their way. We ask people to pay attention to these news providers during these events.
MSEMA.org, is that the website where everybody needs to go? Okay.
That's our website, and we also have a mobile app that you can download. It'll give you live weather radar information and even the latest news releases, all there at the touch of a finger. And you can even set up warning rings on your phone through that app to alert you when a storm is in your area.
MSEMA.org, again, is the website if you're looking for more information on where to go, what to do in the aftermath of this storm, or if you want to help, you will find that there as well. Scott, let's finish where we started, and that is what, at least so far, is the best news, that no fatalities have been reported.
Right. We have, 1 injury in Franklin County, 4 in Lamar, 12 in Lincoln, and we always say life safety is priority number one. And that's where we're happy in the sense that so far no deaths are reported, but we hold our breath. There are areas that are still hard to get to, and that work is going on as we speak right now, trying to confirm and maintain that hopeful news that at least no one lost their life. We keep our fingers crossed.
Scott Simmons with the Mississippi Emergency Management Agency. He is the coordinator of communications, the chief communications officer. Scott, I know it's busy. I appreciate your time. We'll talk soon, my friend.
Always, bud. Be good.
You as well. Scott Simmons joining us. It is Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank. Lance, I mean, the headline in that is the good news. And you're not trying to be the guy that's just looking for the silver lining in the cloud or, that's pumping sunshine. But if we went through this event with, as the National Weather Service told us, 3 verified at this point tornadoes that had varying track distances, we've seen some of the images. If we were able to get through this without the loss of life, then that in and of itself is a win.
Property is something that can be rebuilt. Lives are not that way. So, the good news, if there is any, is that we do not have any loss of life. But, you can rebuild. And,
absolutely. That doesn't mean that's easy.
No.
And there are people that lost everything that they had yesterday and last night. And it feels like it always rolls in the overnight hours. I know that's a little bit hyperbolic, but it feels like, especially with some of these worst storms that we see, it's like they come in and then it's dark and you have to wait for hours for the sun to rise to really begin assessing the damage. There were a lot of storm chasers that were in Mississippi yesterday. It wasn't just Reed Timmer. There were a number of them. And some of the videos that you saw late afternoon, early evening were pretty harrowing, and the size of a couple of these tornadoes was just absolutely massive. So if you didn't see some of that, then you're a bit of a weather nerd. You can find those online as well. Mornings with Richard Cross. Glad to be with you on this Thursday. Coming up next, we're going to chat. I told you the 8 o'clock hour was going to be busy. Tiwana O'Rear. She is Chief of Operations at Sanctuary Hospice. The 9th annual Sanctuary Hospice radiothon is happening on our local Tupelo music station, Mix 95.9 FM in Tupelo, that part of the state of Mississippi. We'll talk with Tiwana about what is going on today with their radiothon and also what is going on at Sanctuary Hospice. That's coming up next as we continue with you. Thanks for being with us on this Thursday morning, the 7th of May. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi. We're back right after this.
Everything inside and out and love strange, surreal and dark. Think of the tender things that we were working on. Slow change may pull us apart. When the light gets into your heart, baby, don't you forget about me. Don't you forget about me.
From theseabrook.com. From Duck Hill to Alligator, Mississippians start their day the right way. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Love, exciting and
Thanks for being with us. It's turned into a television theme song Thursday. Glad to be with you. It's May 7th, 2026. Alongside Lance Tolbert, I'm Richard Cross. The C Spire text line is open to you, 601-879-4395. With C Spire, it's easier than ever to get all the devices you want in one move with the Ultimate Connect bundle. Right now, new and current customers can get a free phone, watch, and tablet, plus 100 gigs of data for just $90. That includes the new iPhone 17 and Samsung Galaxy S26 for free, and a free smartwatch and a tablet to go with it. So don't wait. There's more to see. Visit cspire.com or stop by your local C Spire store today. As I mentioned before the break, today is Radiothon Day for Sanctuary Hospice on Mix 95.9. That is a SuperTalk music station in Tupelo, raising awareness and raising money for Sanctuary Hospice. Tiwana O'Rear joins us right now. She's Chief of Operations at Sanctuary Hospice. And Tiwana, always good to see you. Thanks so much for your time this morning.
Good morning. It's good to see you.
Big day.
We're very excited. It's year 9 of our radiothon, so we're very excited. I hear all the activities going on outside already this morning.
Officially gets going, what, at 9:30 this morning? Is that right?
Yes, 9:30 to 6 p.m. this afternoon, and we invite all the community to come by. We have families coming by to share their stories, to talk about their experience here and ways that people can help. So we invite anybody that wants to come by.
Tell us about how this has grown through the years. You go back 9 years to the first radiothon, and when you start something like this, there's always a little bit of trepidation. Is it going to work? Are people going to show up? Are people going to call in? Are they going to donate? And when you get almost a decade into it, you realize that, hey, maybe we were onto something, and this is working.
Yeah, well, credit to Kim Deal. She was our local rep that started this for us and helped us kind of get this going. And it's going great every year. That's one thing about Sanctuary is our community is so supportive. And, you know, when we have a need, they're always there to help us. And when we have our radiothon, if you listen to the stories that are going to come in today, it's amazing. But you can truly see why people have such a heart for what we're doing and why they show up when we have something like this going on. So we'll have a building full of people all day long.
And there's really no way to replace a personal testimony, right? I mean, when you think about healthcare organizations in particular that have to raise money to cover their operations cost, if it's a children's hospital, those stories about children tug on your heartstrings. You talk about the role that Sanctuary plays in the Tupelo and surrounding communities. You've got so many people who have been able to take advantage of the services that exist at Sanctuary Hospice, who have seen firsthand and can really give voice to what it's like to when you're going through one of the most difficult things you can possibly go through, an end-of-life situation, and yet you can talk about dignity and welcomingness and happiness in the midst of sadness. Those things really matter, don't they?
Yeah. They do, and it's one of the most powerful things that we have going for us at Sanctuary. We opened in 2005, and this year we will serve our 10,000th patient. Wow. And for a community this size, that's amazing. And so when we have things like this and we ask people to talk about their stories and share with people that they know about the ministry that we have and the fundraising needs that we have 10,000 families that have already been served by Sanctuary that can tell their story, that can share what we were able to do for them, and that can help us raise the funds that we need and reach the people that we need to reach so that we can do that for 10,000 more people.
You know how when you've got a really good story and you tell it, you get to the point where sometimes it feels redundant to you. But I feel like there are people that haven't heard this. I think it's my favorite Sanctuary story, and it's the story about the yellow paint. I know you've told it before, but tell it again because I think people love hearing it.
Yeah. So our founders, years ago, we had some very wise people that started Sanctuary, but they had lots of important conversations, and they had to go all the way to Washington to get legislation to even open the Sanctuary Hospice house. So there was a lot of important things on the table. But one of the important things on the table were what color they were going to paint this house. And everybody knows it now as the Yellow House. If they don't even know the name Sanctuary, they're like, oh, you're in the Yellow House. And so they know this by that color. But that color wasn't always a given because we had some people that were very passionate about it in the beginning, and they wanted it to be a more muted, army green kind of color. And we can't imagine that now, but we had some very strong board members that said it needs to be yellow. It has to be yellow. It needs to be happy when you pull up in that parking lot. You want to see sunshine, you want to see happiness. And I think they made the right call.
I could not agree with you more. I refer to it as the Yellow House. When I come into Tupelo from that direction, kind of Main Street extended, it always brings a smile to my face when I see that. You've told me before about the property itself. It's such a beautiful place with mature landscaping, but it's also right there adjacent to the old Hancock farm, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you look out our back door and it's very pastoral back there. There's white picket fence and there's just fields as far as you can see. There's still an old grain silo up on the hill. And we're barely outside town. We're only like a mile from Coley Road, probably less than that. But it seems like you're out in the country when you get here. It seems like very peaceful and calm. It feels like you just rolled up to your family farm.
Well, it's an incredible setting. Let's tell people how they can be involved today and what the goals are for Sanctuary as you go through the 9th annual radiothon. By the way, if you're in North Mississippi, you can listen on Mix 95.9 FM. That is a SuperTalk owned radio station, music station, a little bit different than SuperTalk. What can people expect today?
If you have a story to tell in your local, we invite you to come by and share that story with us and with the community on the radio. I would also say that the hospice house is something very unique to Tupelo, and sometimes we can take that for granted because it's been here for so long. But we have a 24-bed inpatient facility here. It's the largest in the state. It's one of the largest in the country, and it's because the community has supported it that's here. There's a reason there's not more facilities like this across the country, and it's because it's very hard financially to support them. And we are only able to do that with the help of our community through fundraisers, through our village shop. We have 2 stores here in town that are run by mostly volunteers. And then we have Celebration Village later in the year, but we have to raise $1.7 million every year. You can do that anytime on our website, sanctuaryhospice.org. You can make a donation on there. We can make a recurring donation on there, and we encourage people to do that. Continued giving through the years, one of the most helpful things that can sustain us outside these events that we have. We have a raffle today, so if you go to our Facebook page, you can see there's a chance to buy a raffle ticket to win over $1,000 in local dining gift cards. So you can buy that and support us that way. Those are all donated to us as well. So come by, tell your story, make a donation. Most importantly, share with somebody that you know about the work that we're doing here. No, not that I know of, but
Okay.
we always, if we always have lofty goals around here. So
You don't want to limit yourself by putting a number out there sometimes as well. 1.7 million, and I'm assuming that that's a number that has consistently gone up in recent years in terms of what you've got to raise to keep the doors open.
it has pre-COVID, that number was right at 1 million.
Wow.
It's significantly gone up. And the one thing I always say about our fundraising efforts here is, retail places, service industries, they all have the ability to just charge more for what they're doing. And so when their prices go up, they basically pass that along to us. In healthcare, we don't have the opportunity to do that because we get, tiny increases along the way, but nobody's paying us for all the increases that we're seeing in staffing costs, supply costs, groceries cost more, utilities cost more. And we're not able to pass that along in any way other than asking for more help from our community.
It is absolutely a worthy cause, a great organization, and it's the Yellow House coming into Tupelo. Tawana, we wish you all the best today with the 9th annual radiothon for Sanctuary Hospice, and always appreciate your time.
Thank you, Richard. We appreciate you giving us the opportunity to talk about it.
Absolutely. We'll catch up soon. Tawana O'Rear, she is the operations director, chief of operations at Sanctuary Hospice in Tupelo today, their 9th annual radiothon for Sanctuary Hospice. Our local Tupelo music station, Mix 95.9 FM. You can listen in and listen to some of those uplifting stories, and hopefully you will feel moved to donate to the cause there. Exceptional stuff happening at Sanctuary Hospice. We will take a timeout, and we've got more coming up with you as we wrap things up. A television / sports / humanitarian / environmental legend passed away yesterday. He was absolutely an eccentric. He was described as a swashbuckler. Tell you who we're talking about coming up next. Mornings with Richard Cross, wrapping it up next with you, presented by Community Bank on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
From the Venable.
You're starting your day off right. Welcome to Mornings with Richard Cross here on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Sweet Jane, oh, sweet, sweet Jane, waiting for Jimmy down in the alley.
Ricky in Aberdeen on the C Spire text line. My grandmother and my father both passed away peacefully at Sanctuary. They are wonderful people, and I will definitely be donating today and encourage others to do as well. Ricky, thanks for the message. Sorry for your loss, but thank goodness that a place like Sanctuary is there to make that difficult process a little more palatable. There's nothing that makes it easy, but can kind of soften the edges just a little bit. I want to remind you about my friends at Belk Ford and Oxford Toyota on Highway 6 West in Oxford. We all find ourselves eventually in the market for a new automobile. Maybe it's a brand new one. Maybe it's a previously owned automobile. Maybe it's a Ford F-150, kind of my favorite. And I got good news for you. From now through early July, employee pricing is back at Ford. And sometimes there are caveats that go along with that. Like if you're a current Ford owner, or if you are trading in a Ford vehicle, you can get that. This is for everybody. You go to Belk Ford and you say, I want the employee pricing deal, and you're going to recognize that you are paying significantly less than you see on the retail sticker price, the MSRP on the window sticker. Sometimes by as much as maybe $10,000. So you don't have to go in and do a ton of haggling. You know you're going to get the pricing that is available to Ford employees. And they've got a really good selection on the lot right now. I was there earlier this week. Had to get an oil change and the tires rotated on my F-150 from Belk Ford. Their service department is second to none. They just make it so incredibly easy. They get you in and out as quickly as possible. They'll take care of you. So if you find yourself in the market for a new or previously owned vehicle, whether you live in Oxford and the surrounding area, or maybe you're outside the state of Mississippi, maybe you're on the coast or in the Pine Belt or in Jackson, and you're like, I don't know if it's worth the drive. It absolutely is worth the drive, and you can start with a phone call. If you need a contact, let us know. I will put you in touch with them directly. If you just want to reach out yourself, let them take care of you at Belk Ford and at Oxford Toyota. There's a better way at Belk, located on Highway 6 West in Oxford. Ted Turner was a sportsman of all types, a world champion in sailing, and a World Series owner in baseball. One of the great stories early after he bought the Atlanta Braves, they were in the middle of a losing streak, and he called up the manager at the time and said, hey, I want you to take a few days off, see if you can kind of reset yourself. The manager's like, what do you mean take a few days off? I'm not firing you. You're just going to take a break for a couple of days. I'm going to give you a little vacation. Well, that doesn't happen in baseball. And, of course, who's going to manage the team? Ted Turner. Ted Turner stepped in for one game as the manager, owner of the Atlanta Braves. Said he wanted to get a real insight into what it's like being in the dugout. They lost that game 2-1, but it was not a complete circus act. Though Major League Baseball stepped in and said, no more. You can't own the team and manage the team. It's not the only time that Major League Baseball stepped in and said no to Ted Turner. He had a pitcher that wore number 17. All of the players had the nameplates on the back of their jersey. Lance, do you know what he put in place of Smith or Tolbert or whatever the last name was with that pitcher?
TNT, TBS?
Channel.
Okay.
He just put channel so that it was about channel 17. That was TBS, and you could watch it. When Turner bought the Braves, he had a small television station, and he put the Atlanta Braves on them. And that small television station became Super Station at TBS. He sold the channel to markets all over the country, and it helped build a national following for the Atlanta Braves. So I think it was Eric Erickson that retweeted a post earlier this morning, said Ted Turner made sure that kids in Montana could watch the Atlanta Braves 20 years ago. 20 years later, they are making sure that kids in Atlanta can't watch the Braves. They've had carriage issues along the way. But, man, what a part of so many youth, part of the lives of so many youths growing up watching Braves baseball on TBS. He was also the captain of the 1977 winner of the America's Cup, the premier sailing event in the world. He was the founder of the Goodwill Games, did that out of frustration for the United States boycotting the 1980 Summer Olympics in Moscow and the Soviets boycotting the 1984 Summer Games in Los Angeles. Goodwill Games consisted of 3,000 athletes from 79 countries. It lasted until 2001. Also, one of the largest private landowners in the United States, committed to conservationism and use of natural resources. He owns approximately 2 million acres of land, making him a top 5 landowner in the U.S. Ted Turner, what an icon. He's called a swashbuckling owner of the Atlanta Braves. A pirate, if you will. Thanks for being with us. Hope you have a great day. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.